On October 15, President Donald Trump must once again decide whether to recertify Iran as in compliance with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA), better known as the Iran nuclear deal. Recent statements from the White House suggest Trump will, in fact, decertify Iran as following the agreement. While this move will not tear up the deal as Trump once promised, it will firmly establish the administration's desire to seek a more confrontational approach towards Tehran, as opposed to rapprochement. President Trump's approach to Iran is revealing for two major reasons. First, despite being currently locked in a showdown with North Korea over its nuclear achievements, the White House appears to believe it can tackle two rogue states with nuclear aspirations simultaneously. In the event a crisis develops in Iran as well as Korea, it remains to be seen how the Trump administration plans to devote the resources necessary to handle each situation. Even the Bush administration, with its freedom agenda in the early 2000s, found out the hard way it could only really handle one adversary at a time. Second, given his troubles on the domestic political front, taking a confrontational stance towards Iran will ensure Trump stays on the right side of the Washington establishment, particularly Republicans and even some hawkish Democrats. For all the talk of America first, even early indications revealed restraint and retrenchment were not going to be cornerstones of the Trump administration's foreign policy. If anything was going to keep the great disruptor like Trump relevant, it was hawkishness on defense and foreign policy. If any consistent objective has manifested in the first year of the Trump administration, it is to confront rogue states like Iran and North Korea. In fact, it appears to have taken precedence over many other matters, such as combating terrorism or curbing illegal immigration, owing perhaps to the more domestically divisive nature of these issues. The world's bad boys, like Iran and North Korea, are enduring challenges that have spanned multiple administrations, but previous presidents have largely chosen to manage and mitigate, occasionally turning up the heat when the situation dictated. Trump, on the other hand, has called out the troublemakers from the very beginning and is charging headfirst into the fray. Intimidation is the appeal of confrontation. The logic goes that intimidating one's opponents will encourage acquiescence, thereby defeating belligerents without physically resorting to armed conflict. To quote Sun Tzu, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. For the incessant talk of all options being on the table and boasting of military might, influencing your adversary into chickening out is the ultimate display of strength. But intimidation is unlikely to convince anyone to get in line, to say nothing of North Korea. First, rogue states pursue weapons of mass destruction programs due in part to their physical vulnerability. Being armed with the deadliest weapons known to man are the ultimate insurance policy against coercion or regime change. Only the most desperate or irrational of actors would attack someone knowing the cost of doing so would be disproportionately high. In fact, it is precisely the fate of ex-rogue states like Iraq and Libya that have forever convinced North Korea and, perhaps Iran, of the importance of maintaining such terrifying arsenals. Second, Iran and North Korea are united in their unbridled hatred and hostility towards the U.S. Anti-Americanism is a raison d'etre and a basis of legitimacy for both the Ayatollah in Tehran and the Kim dynasty in Pyongyang. As long as this hatred and hostility rages in their hearts, Washington will always find it next to impossible to bring either regime to heel. Difficulties in achieving any sort of rapprochement with Iran and North Korea, or any rogue state, only exemplify the known nature of engagement with either. Third, rogue states often align themselves with the great power rivals of the superpower and those aligned with it. Often, the US and its allies find the worst obstructionism comes not from the bad boys, but those who offer tacit support or full-blown sponsorship of such countries. China and Russia play this role today and play it very well. As a result, any confrontation with Iran or North Korea runs the risk of triggering a broader, larger, confrontation with a bigger fish. The question being is showing Pyongyang and Tehran who's boss worth the potentially disastrous face-off with Beijing and Moscow. Pages